our guest speaker, Archdeacon Jim Dugan. Jim was born in the United States and ordained as a priest in the Episcopal Church before coming to Canada in 1984. Most of his working life is being spent in church environments, working as a street minister with delinquent teens in Cleveland, Ohio, a parish priest in a number of communities in southern Ontario and now Kenora, director of stewardship and financial development for the Anglican Church of Canada, and a number of other positions for the diocese. He obviously can't hold a job. Throughout his ministry, Jim has had a concern for those often at the margins of society. Today he will be presenting information on an approach to assist those motivated to move out of poverty, which has proven to be successful in a number of communities in the United States and here in Canada.
I'm reminded of the clergyman who had trouble with the mic, and he said to the congregation, "There's something wrong with this mic," and the congregation responded, "And also with you." Thank you, Lloyd, for the introduction that you gave. Thank you. I don't think it's on yet. You let me know when it's working, and I'll continue talking. There. Hello? It's working now.
Oh,
Is it on? No.
For 2 seconds.
There.
Well, first of all, thank you, Lloyd, for the introduction that you gave. It feels like I'm among many friends. I know many of you in various capacities, and it really makes me feel like I'm at church here today. You're all sitting in the back row. It's, I've come to introduce many of you to a new initiative that is taking place in Kenora called Circles. Circles is an initiative to assist people to move out of poverty. The initiative is called Circles, and it has three primary overarching goals. The first goal is to invite the community to join the human service system in helping people to move out of poverty. Second, to inspire and to equip the community to eradicate poverty. And thirdly, to develop genuine and lasting relationships across socioeconomic class lines with an intention to facilitate low-income people moving permanently out of poverty. Circles Canada has expanded rapidly with current, this keeps cutting in and out. Circles Canada has been expanding fairly rapidly. Currently in the counties of Lambton in southern Ontario, Wellington County, and Simcoe County, in addition to the municipalities of London, St. Thomas, Muskoka, Sudbury, Kingston, and this year, for the first time, Circles Canada has an Indigenous chapter which was launched in Temiskaming. Circles has three main components to it. The first is Bridges Out of Poverty. It's a one-day workshop for people in the helping professions, for people living in poverty, and for those interested, concerned citizens. The goals of the workshop are to examine the impact of poverty on families, and to explore the hidden rules of economic class, and to identify ways to improve relationships, and to develop better tools to address individuals' needs. The second component is getting ahead in a just getting by world. It's a 16-week program for people living in poverty who have been identified and recommended by social workers and others as motivated to move out of poverty. The sessions are held once a week for 5 hours. The sessions assist individuals to set their own realistic goals and to explore resources both within themselves and in the wider community. And they can draw upon those resources to achieve the goals that they set for themselves. And the third component is called Circles. It's an ongoing support for the graduates and their families of the Getting Ahead program. This group is composed of the graduates and their families and community allies who have taken Bridges out of poverty and are able and willing to provide community support, such as networking and encouragement and simply being a positive role model for those participants. So far, Kenora has held 1 Bridges workshop and has completed 1 Getting Ahead program and is in the midst of a second program currently. We intend to hold another Bridges workshop in June of 2019. And that's really why I'm here today, to try to invite you and encourage you to be a part of this growing initiative. St. Albans Cathedral initiated the Bridges workshop and followed that workshop up with a number of community organizations and have been working together on the Getting Ahead workshop, including the Northwestern Health Unit, Women's Place, Kenora District Services Board, Nietzsche Friendship Center, and St. Albans. We call ourselves EPIC, Every Person in Community. Let me speak a little further about each of those components. Bridges out of poverty. It's a comprehensive approach to understand the dynamics that cause and maintain poverty from the individual to the systems level. Bridges out of poverty uses the lens of economic class, poverty, middle class, and wealth, and provides concrete tools and strategies for a community to prevent, reduce, and alleviate poverty. Participants review poverty research, examine a theory of change, and analyze poverty through the prism of hidden rules of class, resources, family structure, and language. Often, middle class and poverty class assumptions and worldviews differ. Middle class especially assumes that their view is shared, or at least should be shared, because everybody knows that. Planning and achievement are values, whereas people in poverty live with the tyranny of the moment and survival. Participants will also explore the hidden rules of economic class. For instance, money, seen differently for people living in poverty than those living in middle class or in wealth. If you're living in poverty, money is to be used. It's to be spent. Middle class, it's more to be managed. And in a wealth class, it's to be conserved and invested. Food is a simple way to understand it. In poverty, the question would be, did you get enough? The question is one of quantity. In middle class, it's more a question of quality. Did you like it? And those in wealth, it's more a question of presentation. Was it well presented? I bridge all 3 of those myself, I know, because I'm concerned with people having enough, having it tasty, and having it well presented. But time is another issue that really impinges on different worldviews. People living in poverty, time is the present. That's the most important. Decisions are often made for the moment based on feelings or survival issues. In middle class, it's more an orientation to the future. Decisions are made against future ramifications. People in wealth are interested in traditions and history, decisions partly based on tradition and decorum. The Getting Ahead program is led by 2 facilitators, and the students are called investigators. They're called to investigate their own life and the resources in the community that they find themselves in. Through the 16-week program, they learn to take charge of their lives by completing a self-assessment of their own resources and making plans to build upon them. They also develop a series of mental models to examine their own lives and to create new future stories for themselves. It helps to stabilize their lives. They investigate the impact that poverty has had both on themselves and on their community, and they use this information to build resources for a better life and community. This past spring, 12 investigators began the program and 7 graduated. Since then, 2 of the co-investigators from the first group took the You Are the Chef training at the Northwestern Health Unit and are now doing 5 cooking classes, which is a Northwestern Health Unit sponsored program enhancement for Getting Ahead, and they're compensated for their time. Our current group of investigators provided prioritized suggestions for the placement of the Rotary Club mini library. A library has now been established by the Rotary Club at the Rabbit Lake Trailer Park, and Rotary, I understand, is looking to have more built. Thank you for that. The 2 investigators also attended the recent City of Kenora Housing Forum, and one of the investigators spoke. And this led to one of the city councilors asking for a deputation on the Just Getting Ahead program in the new year, this current year. And one of the landlords who was at that meeting reached out to connect with the Just Getting Ahead investigator to meet and to attend and participate in a deputation to City Council at the Committee of the Whole meeting. The group discussed this and developed a letter that they wanted to share with the landlord to support his deputation regarding the policy change for water meters and the concern around the impact that it will have on current available affordable housing in Kenora. The investigators will be attending the Committee of the Whole meeting to show their support for the landlords. As you might imagine, somebody wanting to move out of poverty will have to make many changes in their lives, including often new friendships. I've heard that one person's answering machine now says, "Leave a message, but I'm making changes in my life. If I don't get back to you, you're one of them." Through the sharing and discovery which takes place on a weekly basis, the investigators develop a sense of community and mutual support. For some, that can be sufficient. But for others, ongoing structured support is needed to continue on their path forward. And that's where the next component comes into play, and that is circles. And that is the next piece that we need to put in place. We don't have that in place yet. Circles is the ongoing support for the investigators as they continue to move forward with their lives. They're to meet on a weekly basis with their families and other graduates from the Getting Ahead program and with the community allies who have gone through the Bridges Out of Poverty workshop. The allies share in the hoped-for life story which is emerging from each of the participants, and they share in it by providing encouragement and support, at times advocating or networking, mentoring, or simply being a positive role model. The EPIC group would really like to extend an invitation to members of Rotary, first to come to the Bridges Out of Poverty workshop, which is going to take place on June the 6th at the 7 Gens. I have a handout which I will make available for you after this presentation. If people from Rotary attend, our hope would be that you might be sufficiently interested in becoming one of the allies for the Circles program. someone who would be willing to meet along with others on a regular basis to support the people who are moving out of poverty into a more stable existence. I just can't tell you enough how dramatic some of the changes are that individual participants are experiencing. We'll try this again, maybe, maybe not. Maybe both of these will work. How's that? Two-fisted delivery. I'm open for questions if you would like to pose any to me. Len?
And having track record of the people in Southern Ontario who've been doing this longer, is there any response back from them as to how it works?
Yes, Gail Montgomery was the Gail Montgomery was working with Ontario Works in Lambton County. She came across this program idea in the States and brought it to Canada 10 years ago. And since then, it has become a key component in Lambton County. So well established that Lambton College, a community college, is now offering the Getting Ahead program as a community college course. Individuals have, I don't know how many people have gone through the program in Lambton County, but I know that it's considered a success by the Social Service Department of Lambton County. And as I said, it's been now established in a number of other counties in addition to municipalities, mostly but not exclusively in Southern Ontario. Yes.
Very interesting what you're saying. One of the questions that I have is there, besides having to take the initial workshop, are there any other qualifiers for somebody to become an investigator?
To be an investigator?
Yeah.
The investigators are the people living in poverty now.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Do you have some criteria of how you choose people to become investigators?
The short answer is yes. We interview everybody to make sure that, among other things, they're not only motivated through their conversation to engage in this, but they also are able on their schedule to complete the 16-week course. If you've got a court date coming up, you're probably going to be unable to attend when you're going to court. They're all people who have been recommended mainly by social workers who have been working with them and have assessed that they likely are motivated enough. Mary, do you remember other criteria that has been used?
No, certainly with the first group, we were looking, because it was the first group, for people that would have a high possibility of success, that looked like they were ready to be winners. Each group is very different. I help out in the kitchen, and I don't hear the conversations, and it's all confidential anyway, but I watch how they interact, and it's this second group is way different. I'm trying to figure out why. I think they're marginally older. The particular group by chance is all women. I don't think they just are. That's just a characteristic. We had a couple of men in the first group. But certainly one of them is very politically active. That when we were at the housing forum that the city sponsored, she kept standing up and saying, "I'm in the program Getting Ahead and trying to get out of poverty," and then would pose her question. And I think that's where that whole thing with the city got started. And they're going to committee of the whole this week on Tuesday to make a presentation. And you know, so it's just, it's very different. Attendance isn't perfect, so I mean, if somebody had a court date, as long as they didn't end up in jail, then they wouldn't be able to complete the, but people, you know, do miss occasional times, illness, a child's sick or something like that. But they have to, I think they've agreed that they have to attend at least 75% of them. And there's been an effort to help them with makeup, you know, when they missed something.
Now, are you able to deal with some of the barriers like transportation and
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we provide transportation and we provide childcare if it's required.
Mary, I would have thought that there would have been more women in the program because they would want better for their own kids.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
they would be very motivated.
And in fact, one of the women who was in the first program and was doing the You're the Chef program didn't come this past week, and the word is she's now gone back to school. So, I mean, that, and I don't know how old she would have been, at least late 20s, I would suggest. I mean, she's young, they're all young as far as I'm concerned.
Any other questions?
Is it once a week?
Once a week for 16 weeks, 5 hours each session.
Each session.
That's a huge commitment.
Marianne?
Jim, if either an individual or someone in an organization wanted to know more about the program, thinking of perhaps someone they know would be interested, how would they go about getting in touch with EPIC and maybe talking a little bit more about it?
Well, I will be, as I said, distributing some flyers, and it has some contact information.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you all very much for your time and attention.
Jim, on behalf of the Kenora Rotary Club, I'd like to make this presentation to you. It's, we will be making a gift to the Rotary Foundation. We used to give people mugs and pens and other dust collectors. This is a bit more effective than using our money that way. Jim is my pastor at St. Albans, and yesterday we had our annual meeting, and classic Jim, you know, annual meetings can be boring. He makes sure there's lots of levity out there and a series of endless cartoons of humor. So everyone felt in a good mood when the meeting began. And the classic order, you know, is a nice, lovely joke, self-depreciating about ministry itself. It's classic. So thank you very much.
Thank you.